like he felt right now. There had been other 6 stones after that, and stones whose purpose was to prop open doors, to hold up windows to let the breeze blow through, to level a chrome table whose leg had bent when his grandfather had rammed it against the kitchen wall. And then there had been stones that had no purpose except to be stones. In the months following that afternoon on the 102, he'd started bringing home rocks he found on the playground, adding to the collection Nan helped him hide in his closet. When his grandfather wasn't home, the two of them would take the rocks out and arrange them on the kitchen table, sorting them according to color and texture and size. There were always rocks that didn't seem to fit into the groups Reef would devise, and these they loved the best. These are special stones, Nan would tell him. Just because they don't fit with the others don't make them less important. It was then he'd realize she was talking about more than just stones, and he'd wait for her to get that faraway look in her eyes when she'd begin to speak about the girl who had been his mother. The girl whose deafness had made her different, had set her apart, had trapped her in a world of silence and shame. Reeve shrugged, pulled out the rock he'd carried with him all afternoon. Turning it over in his hands, he thought of the night 2 years ago when Bigger had coined his name. They'd been passing around a joint, and Reeve, who at the time was still Chad Kennedy, had taken the final shred of it from Jink for one more drag. Already high, he'd sucked too strongly on it, pulling the burning remnant inside his mouth. Jink and Bigger had rolled on the ground, guffawing as he choked and spat and cursed, his tongue already swelling from the burn. Man, you're one hell of a toker, Jink had sputtered through his laughter. Yeah, man, echoed Bigger. You're the grim reefer. Hey, Reef. Reef had liked the name, but not for the reasons Jink and Bigger thought. Years earlier, Reef's fourth-grade teacher had shown his class a science film on coral, and while nearly everyone else had dozed or whispered in the dark, Reef had sat mesmerized by the images of the living rock that formed protective barriers around tropical islands. He liked what a reef could do, liked thinking of liked thinking of himself as living rock, liked pretending that it was possible to protect those you loved. In the end, he hadn't been able to save the one person who'd meant everything to him, had to watch the cancer burn her up, her body like an ember that crumpled into ash. Horns below him on Birmingham brought him back to the overpass, and he looked down at the traffic through tear-filled eyes. He gripped the rock, seeking its strength, and chose a target. The traffic was moving more steadily now, picking up speed as it neared the Park Street overpass. Lisa glanced up and saw 2 figures there, one on the end with his hand to his ear, the other in the middle with one arm up, waving at her. Amused, she raised her hand to wave back. Then something hit her windshield and the world exploded.